Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a great show for you today, and I'm joined at the desk by Briahna Joy Gray. Hello, Briahna.
Hello, Robby.
What is going on?
Well, Representative Ro Khanna will join us later. We'll discuss the Congressional Progressive Caucus's next steps post-election. Plus, we'll get into why Democrats' performance in New York may have lost them the House with State Senator Jabari Brisport. But first, Democrat Katie Hobbs has defeated Republican Kari Lake and will serve as Arizona's next governor, completing Democrats' sweep for statewide office in the Grand Canyon state. Team Blue also picked up a Senate seat and the Secretary of State's office. Less than 51,000 ballots are still needed to be counted in Arizona as of last night. 16,000 of those votes are from Maricopa County alone.
In an appearance on MSNBC, Maricopa County official Megan Gilbertson was asked what we're all wondering, what is taking so long?
This is fast for Maricopa County. It usually takes us anywhere between 10 and 12 days to complete the count, and we think we're going to be done by the end of this week. We follow the laws as they're written. We have a lot of amazing laws here that allow voters different kinds of access and to vote in the ways that work best for them. So we're going to continue to do the work here. We're going to continue to count the ballots, and we're going to continue to provide the results to the public.
Republican gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake, who has yet to concede, slammed Arizona's election process over the weekend, calling the state an embarrassment and the laughingstock of the elections. This morning, Lake suggested on Twitter that her competitor, Katie Hobbs' victory was illegitimate, tweeting, quote, "Arizonans know BS when they see it. There's no evidence of any illegal activity in this year's election." That was my editorial addition, not what was in the quote. So, so Lake going down to defeat, not ready to admit that. I guess that's not really surprising, given that, like, denying the results of elections was kind of the centerpiece of her campaign. Turns out that's not a smart thing to run on. I don't know who convinced her. Well, actually, I do know who convinced her to do that. It was Donald Trump. Here we are.
It does seem to be the case that in Maricopa County, for whatever reason, they always take a long time to count ballots.
Yeah.
Not
but is that acceptable?
Of course not.
Yeah.
It's absurd, especially in this kind of a climate. You have to, it's a sad thing, but you have to anticipate that people are going to try to exploit that kind of longevity in counting to make claims about the election not being valid. You ran on democracy as a Democratic Party. You have to know that this is the kind of claim that's going to come down the pike. And why you wouldn't be making more efforts to try to reform this system, I don't know. But here we are. And so it has been interesting to see Kari Lake take her case to Twitter, take her case to certain news organizations, and try to stir the pot, especially in the wake of an election cycle where election deniers fared so poorly overall. Yeah,
look, Florida had a terrible election system in 2000. That was the laughingstock of the nation. That could have led to a much worse crisis than it did lead to a crisis. It was horrible what happened. It actually, the results of those elections were not clear and were confusing because of how badly they screwed up the Bush v. Gore. Then they fixed it after that, and they don't have those problems anymore. These states that are taking forever, I don't think this is acceptable. I don't think that means, and we've not seen wide evidence of fraud, but I understand why people are asking those questions. Watching in Nevada, it's even more. Laxalt well ahead, and then over days and days and days, that gap closes, and I understand Republicans looking a little side-eyed at that, even if there is nothing illegitimate there. So we can't have that happening.
Yeah.
But that does not change the reality that these Republican candidates lost. Other Republican candidates who did not run on the issues that Lake and Masters did have won. And that is an indictment of their campaign strategies. I don't understand why people. Kari Lake was described by some conservatives. Initially, she was opposed, but then as soon as she got the nomination, conservatives were talking about what a good. Because she's a TV personality. She's poised. She's a real firebrand. She delivers her remarks well. She's telegenic. And she's this great, amazing Republican candidate, but she lost. You have to win, and you have to run on something that resonates with voters. I think her presentation was very good, but she clearly didn't connect with voters because she was idiosyncratically obsessed with this thing that is just not a winner.
Well, look, it was close, and as I said, I watched their not quite a debate, but their presentations to the crowd, and she did seem to be, fluent in the issues, substantively not taking the positions that I think were right or good for, constituents, but seemed to be able to control the crowd and be very fluent on the issues in a way that I think goes far above and beyond a lot of television personality types who decide to enter into politics. And I frankly thought she was going to win, not based on polling, but just based on how people in the state might receive her. And it also was close. It obviously was a close race. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
So they have the current governor, the outgoing governor, is a Republican, Doug Ducey. He's not he's very conservative. You would consider his policies extremely conservative, but he's not like a Trump. He's pretty conservative on immigration. He's known for school choice stuff that I like, you probably don't like. He just didn't agree with the lie stuff. He's not utterly beholden to Trump. He was reelected in 2018 by a margin of 56 to 42. 56 to 42. So this was close, but why run a Kari Lake type person in this state instead of a Doug Ducey type person? And he would have run for Senate, except he knew he was going to have Trump sabotage him the way Trump tried to sabotage Brian Kemp and some other people.
Yeah.
This is shooting Republicans shooting themselves in the foot at some point.
Yeah. Well, look, another thing that ended up happening in this was that I saw Jesse Waters on Fox, for instance, trying to set expectations in the other way for this, saying that if the results take a long time to come out, then you should be suspicious. There's no reason this should be a week-long event, et cetera. Even though, per this Washington Post article trying to explain why things are taking so long. Apparently, this is par for the course. It's regularly 12 days or so for votes to be counted here. And as part of the explanation, they say, look, at a time when Maricopa County needed a near-perfect election, some printers used to produce ballots on demand failed at about a third of the polling locations on election day. I mean, this kind of thing, when you know there's going to be a setup, when you know that there are people out there who want to exploit these kinds of delays for political gain, it's just not smart. It's not a good look on the part of Democrats. And it doesn't help Katie Hobbs.
Yeah. But this stuff only comes into play when it's close. Mm-hmm. Because if it's not close, then it doesn't really matter. Then they can model it ahead of time if it's a blowout. And Republicans did blow out their opponents in some states, just with different candidates and different priorities.
Yeah.
So it can't, and if they have a problem with the way elections are run, well, they got to win an election every now and then they can change whatever the policy is. But just kind of whining about how unfair it is not going to work.
Yeah, well, we'll be talking a little bit later about some of the dissonance that's now happening within the Republican Party, the fight for who is going to be the Speaker of the House as a consequence of who is perceived to be at fault for the failures of the red wave that never was. So stick with us, and we'll have more for you coming up next.